Good morning, True Thought Spiritual Community. I'm glad to be back with you. This is your guest speaker today, Brother T, along with my co-founder, Rev Renee. We're excited to be back with you here for True Thought Spiritual Community Inspirational Message this Sunday morning. So this Sunday morning, I wanted to talk about spirituality, kind of looking at spirituality in a new way. And the title is Curative Spirituality. So we talk about spirituality all the time, and we talk about healing, but I guess the question comes up for us because we have such an investment today in science. Is spirituality healing? Can spirituality be healing? So before we get into that, let's join together for a moment of silence and get together here consciously. So let's take a good deep breath. So joining in heart and mind, we ask Spirit to join with us now, to come and join with us in this inspirational message to help to inform this conversation with truth, with love, and the highest vibration possible. And so we invite all of our family and we invite all of the loved ones. We invite the guides and the host of angels to be with us during this discussion. And so it is. So again, thank you for being with us this morning. Curative spirituality. You know, the stories that the Bible reveals to us that 2,000 years ago, our brother Jesus was able to provide instantaneous healing for people, even a resurrection, if you will, of some people who were touched by the touch of love. So I want to unpack that a little bit, and because that's such a mystery, you know, for us to discover. It was only literally a couple of centuries ago, and that doesn't seem that long ago in the grand scheme of things, that we were leeching people, you know, putting leeches on people and bloodletting and those kinds of things. Our science wasn't that progressed yet. We weren't that far along. And even 100 years ago, a lot of people really would rely on spirituality. You know, some of the leaders of the New Thought movement, you know, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore. She had a healing, a spiritual healing, curative spirituality. And so people have been really curious about that and also wondering, you know, how does that happen and what's required for that to happen? But then along came science, and then we began to really invest our faith in the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry, and we began to see that our pharmaceuticals and our doctors could perform miracles, for lack of a better term, and help us to discover and experience physical healing. So are those miracles truly miracles? And does that mean that spirituality is now outdated as a healing modality? Or how does that work? Well, I want to tell you and share with you that it was last year I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Now, if I'd have gotten this diagnosis back in the 90s, my doctors told me that they would have just said, you have about 2 years to live. But because today we have so many new therapies and new strategies that we can employ, they suggested that, oh, well, we can extend your life sometime. Well, I'm sharing this story with you, not to ask for, you know, anybody to be concerned whatsoever, but let me just share a little bit more about it, because healing, all healing, is the removal of fear. So when this diagnosis first came into my experience, Rev Renee and I sat down and we had some very dark moments where we were considering, you know, what is it going to be like if I only live another 3 years or 5 years or something like that, and if my life is cut short by cancer. Well, one of the things that makes it a stage 4 cancer was that they said it had metastasized and they had seen a couple of lesions in various places in my body. And that was the indication that it was stage 4. Well, we went into prayer, and we also shared this with a few people that were close to us that also were our prayer partners as well. Well, eventually I went to continue the discussion with different doctors, and we just decided to talk to a radiology oncologist. And when we started doing some more detailed resolution of my body, this was a couple of months later, those spots were gone. Well, one was benign. I'll say it was still there, but it was non-cancerous. And the other one was non-detectable whatsoever. Now, was it because we were using higher resolution equipment? Was it because of prayer? Where do we give credit? And who would my doctor give credit to? Well, maybe we just weren't using the right resolution. I believe personally that spirituality is, in fact, curative. And that if we apply a mixture of all of these things, because I believe what we're learning through our science is miraculous. And a miracle we've discovered is a shift of perception. And all of these things, I want to say that a miracle and this shift of perception is away from fear and into love. And so while, yes, I had my experience of fear for a period of time, I turned it over to God and I said, if this is to be, this is to be. There's nothing to argue with. There's nothing to, if this is what I have chosen, because we are all choosing our own experience, if this is what I have chosen for my end of life experience, then so be it, because there's lessons to learn. And so I began to realize that I was seeing and going through kind of a dark night of the soul, but at the same time, it was a fear that I had had for some time. And so it was manifesting for me to deal with. And once I kind of got through that, today I can ask the question, who would I be without cancer? Because I transcended the fear. I began to embrace it. I began to love it. I began to love what I was experiencing because I am the experience of that situation. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you is not, again, not because I want anybody to feel any sense of anything other than love for us in our ministry. And there's nothing to be sad or unhappy about whatsoever. In fact, there's a lot to rejoice because I've been struggling with fear about it for years. And now I'm not afraid of it at all. And so now, after these changes that were made, the medical professionals started to backtrack and say, okay, well, it's not stage 4, it's stage 3, and we can do radiation treatment, and it's called a curative radiation treatment. And so I've already gone through that, and it's not, I've been doing quite well on that. I've, been tired a little bit with that, but I've still gone through that without too much of a problem. And so at the end of the day, that's over. And today I feel like I'm ready to live my life to the fullest. And I'm not afraid anymore. So who would I be without cancer? Well, without that diagnosis, I was living in fear. Even though there was a lot of love and a lot of work in my spiritual journey, I've been told by my teachers that, we shouldn't just look at one thing or the other. It's all of these things working together. So if we need to turn to medicine, we could say, well, medicine is white magic. Well, maybe to a degree, but if it helps us to get beyond fear, then that's curative. Absolutely. And if we can move from fear to love, that's a miracle. That's a shift of perception. So regardless of what's going on in our physical life, and we can apply this to our emotional life, our physical life, our relational life, right? Our economic life. We can apply this to all things because all miracles are the removal or the shift from fear to love. And we've learned that awakening, enlightenment, is to transcend fear, removing beyond, removing the obstacles, if you will, to the awareness of the presence of love. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I shared with you that, that you could say that removing the obstacles to the awareness of the presence of love is equal to removing the obstacles to the awareness of the presence of your capital S self. And that still holds true because your capital S self, your true self, is fearful of nothing. You can't be in both of those minds at the same time, those thought systems. It's just like you cannot be sound asleep at night. You can have a lucid dream and begin to come out of that dream and realize that you're just dreaming. What are you afraid of then? If you're having a nightmare in a dream at night and you begin to wake up from it, or you start to have a lucid experience, what are you afraid of? Well, nothing really, because you're realizing it's just a dream. And what can you do in a dream? Well, anything you want to. There's really nothing to be afraid of because dreams have no effect. And if this is a construct of dream, is this a construct of the small self that we're experiencing even right now, what's there to be afraid of? Because the true self, as it becomes part of this experience for us and begins to shine through us, the light of knowing, the light of understanding, the light of truth, and begins to merge with us as Christ consciousness, we can begin to see there is nothing to fear. The body is just a construct. And as I've shared with you before as well, it's kind of like playing the game of Jumanji. Until we play the game and discover our true identity and wake up to our true divinity, capital I identity, capital D divinity, we continue to play the game. In other words, we solve the puzzle, we solve the riddle. And what is the riddle? It is to move from fear to love, to remember who we are in God, that we are an expression, we are an extension, we are that sunbeam to the sun in God, here in field and form. And as we turn forward and continue forward in our understanding that the only relationship that's of importance to us is our relationship with God, keeping the main thing, which we shared a couple of weeks ago, is the only thing that we need to be concerned with. So the body becomes secondary, and we begin to see it as a learning device. I've had a great life, even if something happened to me today or tomorrow. And could it? Yeah, of course it could. Would it be accidental? Not unless I do something foolish. In other words, I believe that we can short circuit our time here if we make difficult or foolish choices, not difficult, but foolish choices. But I think if we just follow our normal natural pattern and take a minimum amount of risks as possible, that we can have a great and abundant life here if we keep the main thing the main thing. And what are we really doing? Following the heart of desire. We've been talking about desire as the number one key to the kingdom. So when we tie our mind together, merge and meld our mind with the higher self, the Holy Spirit, nothing more than our right mind, our true capital S self, the desire of spirit to be expressing as form, in form, through us is what is manifesting. And the body, I would liken it to a gauge on your car. Well, I'll say your gas gauge on your car. When your gas gauge goes to empty, you don't beat on your dash, or at least I hope you don't have to. I've had a few cars where I would have to do that way a long time ago. But anyway, it's just a gauge, right? It's telling us what's going on somewhere else. The body is telling us as a gauge what's going on in our mind, in our thinking process. Are we focused on fear? Are we focused on allowing love to be how we're expressing as we join in union and relationship with our higher self, with spirit? So the inspirational message today is that we can take in all of these miracles. I believe our science and the advancements in science are shifts of perception so that we can do things and we can move through fear now because we have the assistance of science to do that. So we can help to keep our mind focused on keeping the main thing the main thing. We can also experience physical miracles that our science can't explain. We've all heard of it. It happens all the time. Yes, it's still happening because people shift their consciousness, or there's a healing miracle and the body aligns with that shift of consciousness. And then there can be, I believe, a meld or a mix of those things. But whatever's going on in your life today, or whatever's going on in my life, if we can remember to continue to stay focused and communicate with our higher self, follow that guidance, and that guidance will help us to see that we don't need to just disregard the medical industry or the pharmaceutical industry completely out of pocket, or just say, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's not just one thing or the other. It's all of these things together. If we can embrace science, if we can embrace our pharmaceutical industry, if we can embrace our doctors and know that there is love in what they do as well. There is love going on in everything that's being created in our experience. Why? How can I say that? Because love is all there is. And we can see it and judge it as love or less than love, but that's a judgment of the ego mind. That's not something that the Holy Spirit's doing. What's going on here as our experience are expressions of love. They're coming through science. They're coming through chemical science. They're coming through medical science. They're coming through radiological science. They're coming through spiritual science. So spirituality absolutely can be curative. And I believe it's the mixture of these things that help us to stay out of the realm of fear and can help us to increase our longevity. Because I feel like personally, these are just examples that I'm sharing with you because I have a purpose here in my spiritual journey. And it is curative, and it's been curative in so many ways. My emotional life, my relational life, since I've gotten married and joined in relationship with my wife, has changed my life dramatically. Before that, I was up and down and all over the place in all kinds of relationships. Now I feel very in step and in character, if you will, and in integrity, I think is the word I'm looking for. And I feel blessed in my relational life. My relationship with my children has improved dramatically since I've taken a step forward in my spiritual journey. My relationship with my parents and my siblings and my work and the things that I do in my life has shifted dramatically. And I'm doing things today like speaking with you right now. I would never have dreamt of even just a few years ago. So I absolutely believe that spirituality is curative. It's healing. And it only requires us to keep the main thing the main thing. What is that main thing? Is that our relationship with God is the main thing. It's the most important relationship we can have. And so it's not that we're asking God to fix us. We're doing that for ourselves. The body is the gauge, and it's going to align. It's going to show us where we are out of alignment with truth. Truth is love. We are eternal beings, omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. That's our true identity, capital I identity. And when you let that be, you get your identity back. When you and God are one, and you let that be, you get your identity back. And so as we evolve consciously, we might get a diagnosis, but we are responsible for the prognosis. They can tell us this is what science shows us, but I've heard so many stories about people who've had cancer similar to mine, who just quit living their life, right? And today, I don't even know if I have cancer anymore, right? I may not. I may be cancer-free. What I am free of is fear. Fear is what makes us and causes dis-ease. And love is the healing energy of a spiritual journey. So practice love. Learn how to love. Learn how to be connected with love. It's your true self. You know, the other day, we were out on the patio, and I told my wife, I said that this cat is just sitting here just having a great day being a cat. And we didn't have to teach her how to be a cat, right? But we are love. That's what we are. Our true self is love itself. Love is what we are. And we somehow believe that we're something other than that we're separated from it, and we've got to collect it or possess it or own it. We have lots of weird ideas about what love is. But when we join with spirit, we begin to feel love. We begin to know it as a feeling. We begin to have an experience of love that is truly profound. And then we can begin to broaden the field in which we experience what God is being through us, around us, and through all that we experience. So my message today is to rest easy. Be so grateful, regardless of what's going on, because regardless of what is happening, you've called it forth in your life. And we know when we came into this experience, it was temporary. And once we solve the riddle, in other words, once we remember who we really are, we can stick around as long as we want. In other words, we could become more youthful. We could become healed as our brother Jesus healed so many people. We can heal our own self, if you will, and help other people see the healing that occurs when we move from fear to love. We can become the Christ in their life and the healing agent for others and ourselves. As Jesus said, when you see me, you see the Father. Was he afraid? No. Did he have experiences of fear? Yeah, of course he did. But when he was joined with Spirit and that union of relationship matured and manifested, his last expression was, I want to walk through this fear of death, because that was his expression for us to see that even death has no hold. It has no permanence. It has nothing to offer. And he was liberated from that fear, and he's been helping us, teaching us, and working with us ever since. He's with you now. He's with us now. All we have to do is ask, are you there? And listen, right? Because we are joined at the center of our being with love. It is embracing us, and through love, we can embrace all things. We can trust all things, and we can transcend all things, even physical ailments, even death itself. As Jesus said, that's the last useless journey. What a beautiful thought that he gave us this example, and he loves us still and still teaching us today, right? We're not separate, we're not alone, and we are way more than the world would tell us what we are, even through our science. So let's use what we need to use to help ourselves move beyond fear when things happen in our life, whether it's a calamity with our governance, whether it's a calamity with our financial economy, whether it's a calamity with our, some pandemic, or, vaccines, or whatever it may be. If we can look at life that we're living today and see where are the gifts that are being given us to help us to move beyond the fear that we've been holding on to, then we'll be free. So we can join together right now. Let's take a good deep breath and remember who we are. Let's close our eyes for just a moment. So I know who we are in God. We are the energy of the Creator in action. I know what we are in form. We are the energy of the Creator in form. I know how we serve. We serve by being joined in union and relationship with Spirit, so that we allow Spirit to be the voice that is communicated to the world. Love to be the voice that's communicated to the world. Word, I am Word. Word is what we are as the energy of the Creator in action. Word, I am Word. I am Word through this conversation. And as Christ, in perfect safety, we can release all tension. As Christ, we can join and meld our hearts with that of Christ and our guides, our loved ones, and our source. And let that be. We can take a good deep breath. I allow and exhale the love of God. Another good deep breath. I accept the love of God. Willingness to accept love is the only requirement. Willingness to put the relationship with God first is the only requirement. And so it is. I hope in some way I've helped you today and given you an inspiration. God bless you for being here. Thank you so much. We love you. If you want to share some love with us, you can go to truethought.org. You can make a contribution there. If our message is helping you and you find value in what we share here, and let it change you, and share it with other people, and share it with those who can find some love in what we share. Thank you so much. God bless you for being here. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
All that I am today, all that I bring today, I know that it's enough.